Well, we haven't been filming videos very much in the shop recently because we have this hard to hide shiny red Nova.
It's very hard to hide.
Turns out it's very hard to hide.
We kind of thought, like, not to interrupt her story here, but like, it's just a shiny red car that's no different than the vet. No one will even notice. We filmed a few things and was like, no shot from anywhere in the shop can you not see that shiny red Nova. Would you care to take all of us on a journey of why we have a shiny red Nova in our shop?
Well, we got tired of the shiny red Corvette, so we just
Not true.
swapped it out for a shiny red Nova.
Not true. Not true at all. Did you buy it?
No, I did not buy it.
Huh. Okay.
I acquired
Let's
it.
do 20 questions on the Nova. Did you have to drive to pick it up?
Yes.
Was it far?
Well, did I have to drive? No. Did you have to drive?
Come off of it.
Yes.
Why do we have a shiny red Nova in our shop?
What a nice girl.
You working down?
No. Lucy, no. It's weird because I am a pretty private person, Like, I don't really go about boasting details about myself, and we intentionally try to keep our family life and our work life separate, as most do, I feel like. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way because there's parts of your life that are tied together. And this is definitely one of them.
Yeah, it's rare that your family life and your work life or whatever all tie in together, but in this case, when your family life is racing and your work life is racing, well, it all goes together. So it's been difficult, not to try and like bring the mood down, but it's been difficult. There's a lot of things that have been difficult.
Well, and it's weird because you don't know, we put ourselves out there, but for the people around us, they didn't sign up for this. They don't sign up to have their details out there. So when my dad got sick, I didn't tell people, on top of not really wanting to talk about it, and also just it all happened so fast. But then it's hard because you don't know if you're invading somebody's space by telling your story, because it's your story too, you know. But now we have this thing invading our space. And
Physically.
we don't want to be the people that don't share it, you know. We don't want to be the people that don't acknowledge a big shiny red Nova in their shop, you know. And
Yeah, we're not trying to hide it.
it's just hard to talk about, you know.
It's just really hard to talk about. It's hard to do anything with it. Even this is extremely hard, and this is something that we're going to struggle through.
Well, he passed. We found out he was sick, and he passed within 2 months. So like it was all happening so fast that like
There was no time to process anything.
yeah.
So then after he passed, it was, you know, try and process it, try and figure it out, try and get through it, try and find ways to make the time pass so that time heals all. You know, that's what they say anyway. So that's what we did. We just tried to keep focused on the cars and do our thing, but
That's what he would want, you know.
it was super tough. That whole time that we were trying to deal with and get through, that whole year there was a lot of unanswered questions. There's a lot of stuff that didn't make any sense. You know, there was a lot of stuff that we had yet to do and that needed to be done, and just nobody was ready for it. Nobody was ready to you know.
When we had all agreed that we all needed time. We needed time for things to slow down because things had been so hectic.
Just so you know, there's not a whole lot of communication that goes on in our family. Not that mine's, you know, any better, but nobody's is. But it was kind of, you know, it was understood that everybody was going to deal with it and try and get to a place where they were okay enough. You're never going to be okay losing your parent, but okay enough to where Jackie and her sister Erin could go up there and take some time to go through their dad's things, and it was all going to be there, and nobody was going to. It wasn't being moved or sold or, you know, given away or nothing. It was basically waiting on them.
Because I haven't really shared much. My dad has drag raced his whole life. No, he's not some, you know, billionaire top fuel racer and stuff.
He collected, you know, just like anybody else. You race, you collect things your whole life, tools, parts, stuff that memorabilia, you know. I mean, even all the way down to NHRA membership stuff and jackets and, you know, pictures. And I mean, the pictures, you know, pictures of cars that he built in his driveway when they were
like cutting them up.
Yeah, like when they were just babies, you know, like there's a lot there. And also he was a, you know, heavy line or transmission mechanic for GM for the whole time. So like this dude was a race car and a mechanic. He was a car, you know. So his whole life was tools and parts and cars and fixing things, and he had collected a whole lifetime of that. And that's how he made his money. That's how he made his life. That's how he paid for their lives. That's how he, you know, and on the weekends he went racing. That's what he did since before Moses got his sandals. I mean, there's pictures of this dude was drag racing. Seriously, this dude was drag racing.
I think he started racing when he was in his, like, 20s.
I can believe it. Like,
well, he had a second gen. I don't know what year that one is.
Yeah, he did.
He had a second gen Camaro, which in the pictures it looks like a small block, and it's definitely nitrous.
It's really cool. There's a picture of it with a small block, tonal ram, 2 carburetors, and a nitrous kit. I was like, that's weird. It was really cool. I was like, whoa, that's weird. She comes by it honest.
Well, he raced that in like the 80s, I believe. In the early 90s, he had sold that car and he bought a third gen Camaro and he started building that. That's the car that I remember him racing and building and everything. And me and Aaron were literally in the garage with him, like getting him tools and getting his beers for sure.
Yeah.
That's like how he grew up, you know. There wasn't much to our lives besides racing.
He was a race car. He lived his whole life to go racing.
He taught us how to work on them, and we didn't do it if we didn't work on them. So it's like we wouldn't be where we are today without him.
In every sense of the word. In every sense of that phrase. Like everything. I got a glimpse into, a lot of what made Jackie, you know, the way she is and why she's so hell bent on, doing it her way or whatever. Like, that's pretty cool. You don't think about, well, maybe I should get a different car. You think about, we can make this car whatever we want. 'Cause that's what he did. He lived his whole life that way. He made it what he wanted it, and he knew how to do it, and he had the tools and the know-how and the drive and the experience, and he didn't take it to some shop somewhere and drop it off and go pick it up. And he didn't take it to this shop, pick it up from that shop, take it to that shop, and
No.
he painted them, did the body work, he tube chassis. I mean, he took a third gen Camaro and tube chassis it in his driveway. And I mean, I'm not gonna say it was no, Tim McSoldier Boys race car deal, but he did it, and it was fast, and it worked. And that's the way it was. He painted them, he did the body work, he built the motors, he built the trainings, he did everything. He literally did everything. He took it all very seriously, and he did the best job he could.
Yeah.
And with each one, he got better at it. But I mean, dude, there's pictures I saw of him taking a 70 Camaro or 72, whatever, 73 Camaro, whatever year it was, and split bumper style Camaro, and just cut the whole ass end out of the car in the driveway, and there was a lot of beers in the picture. It was him and one of his buddies and a whole bunch of beer, and they cut that car to pieces because they wanted to put big tires on it for whatever, races that they were doing. The tracks weren't as good or whatever, so. And then he painted it pink and yellow and all kinds of crazy colors because that's what it was in the 70s, but long story short with all that is, and it's not a short story, but he was a race car, and he did it his own way with his own stuff. And he, that was the way he did it forever. And so at some point, he wanted a lighter or faster or prettier. I don't know. He wanted a Nova. I don't know.
He just wanted something different,
Yeah, he had been racing that car.
But
He'd been racing that car forever. So he sold that third gen Camaro that he built, and he bought a roller Nova.
This one?
That'd be this one here.
Mm-hmm.
And he put his stuff in it, and it's pretty serious, Like, this ain't no middle of the mall shit for most people. Yeah, sure, if you go to, NHRA Pro Mod or something, it's pretty normal stuff, but for most, no, I'm just saying, like, for most driveway guys and most weekend racers, like a 565 big block Chevrolet, rear Morrison short block and stuff, like, pretty serious piece. It's got a Rosser Power Glide, 9-inch Ford, it's square tube chassis, mild steel car, but motors moved way back and stuff. It's really cool. It's a
big tire.
And it sits low as, I mean,
it's really low.
This thing's in the weeds. And he made it work with no wheelie bars on big tires.
Just wild.
Yeah. And then the last couple of years, he had come down here a few times, and we discussed what he wanted to do, and he was retiring, and he wanted to move. He was going to move down here. He was looking at houses, and he wanted to do a different kind of racing. He had been bracket racing pretty much his whole life, and he was just ready for something different. We were watching videos at the house of.
I think it was Dig or Die.
It was one of Corey Stamper's. It was both. We watched both, but yeah. It was Rockingham or something. I don't know. We were watching videos of backwards track stuff, and he was like, "That's pretty wild," And then we watched some front side stuff with Billy and Tommy and them, and we were just kind of showing him what we were going to do, what we wanted to do, what we were finishing her car up for, and he was like, "Yeah," Well, of course, he didn't say that.
No.
He said, "Okay." But
he's a man of few words,
Then he went home and got a realtor, and looking at houses down here, and was getting ready to put his house up on the market, and we were going racing. He bought an RV. He was
a nice one.
I mean, I'm sure he was fixing to paint it and everything himself, but he was ready. We were going racing, so he was finishing up his stuff up there and getting his car ready, and we were finishing Jackie's car down here and getting ready, and
we had just bought him that nitrous kit. And
yeah, we NX Nitrous Express got him a fogger because he was like, what am I? I'm just gonna put nitrous on this rig, and I was like, yeah, you are, hell yeah. So He had put nitrous on it, and we had NX plumb the manifold stuff for him. Same fogger that she has on her car. Pretty much started him with about the same jet, and it was crazy, dude. Like most people with nitrous, you got to hold their hand, you know what I mean? But he was smart in that regard. Like he could do it. He just made it happen. So, I told him basically what I would do with it and tune-up I would put in it, and he took it to the racetrack, and boom, it's crazy. They ran the same number. Jackie's car on a 28 jet and his car on a 28 jet. And they went to the track, 2 different tracks, 1,000 miles apart. And a year apart. And Jackie's car ran the same 530 that his car did. It's pretty wild. I think his 60-foot was a little bit worse because he wasn't hitting it hard out of the hole because, no wheelie bars. And that was on a baby jet. Like, of course, it's a big block, so it'll take, whatever you put to it. But it had a lot of room to grow. It was really cool. He was pumped. And so were we, So when he passed, it was like, what the fuck, Things change, and you have to adapt to it. So best thing we could do for us was adapt the only way we know how, which is, go racing where the light ain't so bright. Go racing where the questions ain't so sharp, where we could be ourselves and not worry about what somebody might mention or what somebody might talk about that would just completely ruin you for a week, you know what I mean? Trying to protect ourselves there, and Jackie was just trying to protect herself and keep her from, because getting behind the wheel of a race car, and hearing everybody talk about your dad or about this or about that, like, just fucks y'all up. So we've been racing where that's not really an issue, because when you go to the street, nobody brings up family, and nobody brings up tomorrow, and nobody brings up yesterday. It's just right now. You get in, you get out, and there's not enough time to think about it. And it took a while, but eventually things started to get a little easier. Being in public was still tough, but as far as racing and working on the cars and stuff, it got a little easier. And then Erin and her sister reconnected.
Erin is my sister.
Sorry. Erin and her sister yes, I'm right then. Erin and her sister reconnected.
Yeah.
Jackie and her sister Erin, that's what I meant to say. Jackie and her sister Erin reconnected after, not talking for a while. They helped each other quite a bit through this and came up with a plan to get together, go up there, take a couple days, and, get through it. Go through his stuff and just try to process, everything, really.
Well, I still had some things there to get of my own, like the engine that I raced with my dad is a 510 big block Chevy, and it was still there. And
yeah, he had kept it for her. Like,
yeah.
You can imagine how hard it is for a guy that races on the weekends and that's a mechanic through the week, and he has a lot of bills and a lot of things to take care of. For a guy like that to keep hold of a 500-inch big block Chevrolet that's complete, ready to run, ready to race, and he just kept it there for her, like,
not even just like some regular one, like it makes
no,
decent
it ran
power,
good.
like,
You know what I mean? And he just kept it for her, And you,
and my little 4-wheeler.
She had a 4-wheeler from when she was a kid. He kept that for her, like, it was pretty cool. So she had some childhood things up there to go through and get anyway. So they came up with a date, and me, I'm there to help and support and do whatever, and I'm there for the hefting and the fetching, and
the huffling and shuffling.
yeah. They point and I take it out to the truck or whatever it is I'm supposed to do. So, or if they want me to move something heavy, I move something heavy.
Well, my sister was very pregnant at that time.
Yes, extremely pregnant. Her dude Mike was super cool about everything and helped out. And except for the first day, Mike didn't show up. Fucking Mike.
Yeah.
Left me in the trenches taking grenades. As you can imagine, things are very emotional during all of that. So.
Well, it was hard. Like, he passed away, and our mom had told us, that decisions were going to be made as a family, and we were repeatedly told nothing was leaving. Nothing was being sold. Nothing was being given away.
Basically, all his things were going to be left there as they were, so they could go through them together. And
I spent a lot of time with my dad racing in his race car garage, and my dad doesn't move things around. Like, my dad has things in particular places, things don't move. I know how he puts things. You know, in the last year, a lot of people have reached out and told me things that they had heard about, you know, what was happening with my dad's car, what was happening with my dad's bikes, because my dad also had a lot of Harleys. He was really into Harleys. He's always had Harleys.
for a long time, he rode a Harley every day.
Yeah,
That
my
was
dad
his
rode a Harley to work
every day.
like an hour and a half away from our house every day. It's wild to think about, you know, like that's stuff that I thought was normal as a kid, you know, and then you grow up and you're like, oh, your dad doesn't ride a motorcycle to work every day. He doesn't wear a leather coat
He
and
doesn't have a
just
chain
go.
wallet.
Yeah. But that's like the really specific stuff, you know, like there's the things that we remember about him that are very specific, because like he wore these ugly, they were so ugly. I remember being a teenager and being like, can you get a new coat, because my friends think you're
Oh,
from
his
the
jacket.
80s.
Yeah, he wore NHRA jackets.
Yeah, he wore these old ugly jackets. Now I think they're cool, you know, but
You can
they
see
were
him in the
like,
pictures, you know, like he
yeah.
was so proud to be a drag racer.
Didn't he had all of
You
them?
know, like there's a lot of people that drag race that you wouldn't even know it because they don't really talk about it or do it or whatever. But, and John wasn't a big talker, but he was so proud to be a drag racer. He was so proud that was part of him that he wore those NHRA jackets. Like you could see in the
That's
pictures.
his regular
Yeah,
jacket.
he wore them deals
Yeah.
out. You know, he wanted people.
That's an everyday thing.
He wanted people to know I'm a race car. That's
Yeah.
what I am.
That's the only coat he had, you know, were like those. And like, he didn't wear it once a year and then wear his regular stuff. Like, he wore those every day, and he wore Harley shirts every day. And like, he literally wore the wallet with the chain every single day. Like,
Harley boots.
yeah.
You know, you know, who he was that guy every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he wasn't pretending anything.
He was that guy.
But also, like, nothing to him was too good to be used. You know, like, his car had scratches. I remember one time the torque converter bolts came out of it, and one of them went through the body. Not this car, the white car. It went through the body, and my dad literally like goes in this drawer, and there's like the free stickers that come in your orders, and he like shuffles around and finds one he likes and like slaps it over the hole in the body, and he's like, good to go. Like, you know, it's nothing to him. I was so embarrassed sometimes as a kid because, you know, we were all racing. Like, we didn't have tons of money to buy the nicest things, you know.
But where they raced was
there's
full
a
of
lot
money.
of rich kids, yeah.
You know, at Route 66 in Chicago, like there was, you know, that's a big, nice racetrack, national event racetrack. So there was a lot of money there.
Well, and we were kids and, you know, teenagers and stuff, and we were like, why isn't mine cool colors and whatever, you know? And my dad was always, paint don't make it no faster, like, you know. But it's like he was never, there was nothing in the world that was to him too nice to be used every day, you know. Like, his cool things he wore every day, and those were the things that Aaron and I had a list between the two of us. Like, we want to find the jackets, we want to find the T-shirts, you know, like things that aren't of value, they're of sentimental value.
Yeah.
You know, like, you probably couldn't sell that jacket at the thrift store for $2, but
I mean, there's pictures, there's leathers, there's, you know, all the little things. You know what I mean? Like,
well, there's pictures of us riding motorcycles as toddlers, and he's wearing those jackets.
If
like,
you're a mechanic right now, or you work on cars, or whatever it is you do, and you have a toolbox, you can imagine there's a lot of things in that toolbox that like mean a lot to you and nobody else. But to you, they do. There's little things that you made, or you know, or you shorted a battery one time with this wrench, and it's got a mark on it still, and it was, you know, at a race that you were at, and it's your favorite one, or whatever. Like, you know, that stuff is what you would want your your kids to have if you weren't around anymore. Especially like, you know, when your kids drag race or when when your kids are into that, you know what I mean? Like that's a big deal, And he has a son that's a Harley mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like literally does that for a living. Looks just like him.
Has the same name.
Has the same name, and like I can only imagine the kind of tools that he would have wanted his kids to have that they could use, not because they're worth anything or not because you know, because they're a certain brand name. Because don't get me wrong, he had some snap, but he had a lot of Craftsman. There was a lot of Craftsman.
Because you could go to Sears and return it and
Yeah.
exchange it out.
But there's a lot of things that you would want your kids to have, that they could use, that would be in use. And there's a lot of things that you may take for granted,
Yeah.
but your kids remember, There's a lot of things that you do every day that you may think is just a mundane task, but your kids saw you do it every day or whatever, and it means something to them. That was the things kept Jackie up at night, was worrying about those things. Well, at first it was nothing's moving, nothing's going anywhere. We're not doing anything with anything, period. Don't worry about it. Whenever you're ready.
Well, then you get sent the screenshots of specifically, like, we had gone to NHRA with my dad, and we were standing outside of a top fuel pit, and that car had blown the engine, the passive four. I don't know what was wrong with it. I was really young. But they were taking the motor apart, and they were putting parts in the trash. And we were standing at, like, the gate. It's not a gate. Like the...
At the ropes.
Yeah. We're standing there just watching them do it, and they're throwing these parts away, and we were like, can we have these? And, a bunch of other people took them too, but there was like a piston, a rod, and a blower belt. And we took those, and then other people got the other stuff, like other pistons and rods, whatever. But we took those, and then the driver signed them.
The point wasn't that it was signed. You went to a drag race with your dad, and you came home with something. That's something that she should have,
Well, then we got a screenshot of a picture posted on Facebook of somebody holding the blower belt
in the garage,
in my dad's garage,
going through things and asking, hey, who signed this, or whatever, like what driver signed this or whatever. Like it could be the most innocent thing in the world, or it could be the most nefarious thing in the world. But either way, it's when you're not there and you don't have any control,
when you're repeatedly told that we're not going through anything, we're not doing anything, but like I also know my dad's garage, and I could tell just from that picture, because you could see the floor, that a lot of things were gone.
It was really, really hard to deal with because she just couldn't even think straight every day, wondering.
Well, because it's not just like a one-time thing of like, oh, you went up there because someone posted a picture. Like
no, it was then that happened, and even before that happened, it was they caught the car on fire, and then before that happened,
that was 12 hours after my dad died. People felt like they should
go over there and fire it up and whatever,
winterize it.
So.
And it was just caught the ignition panel on fire.
And I don't know if they had good intentions or whatever. I don't know anybody's intentions anymore. But all I do know is that it was.
It's disrespectful.
It was consistently, over and over again. It was, hey, we talked to your mom today, and these are family members or family friends or whoever. We talked to your mom today, and they're going to go racing with the car, and this person's going to drive it or whatever, and. And it was like, it wasn't a jealousy thing. It was just.
No one's even talking to us about it.
Why? Yeah. Why is this? How is this possible or whatever? And Jackie and Aaron both were just kind of like, we don't really care about the car at this point. We just want to be able to go through the personal stuff. We just want a piece to remember. We want things that meant something to him. And yeah, the car meant a lot to him. Obviously, it was everything to him. But it wasn't, that was something that, may have been worth money, and that wasn't, we don't need the money. We don't need if we wanted a tube chassis Nova, we'd go buy one. You know what I mean? So it wasn't, it was just like, we just went.
It's not even the car that I raced with him.
Yeah, exactly. So
I don't have memories with this car. It just kind of is what it is, but
it meant something to him,
Yeah.
and it all really boils down to, if you pass away today, tomorrow, it could happen. You never know. And if you pass away, and if when it happens, if you're being told you're going to be okay, or you're being told that things are going to get better, or blah, 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 and if you do this, this, and this, you could be fine, get a second opinion, all this other stuff. We're going to do treatments and this and that. Like, all that stuff was still happening when he passed away. It wasn't like, there was a big ticking thing that said you got 5 years or 2 years or even a year or 6 months. Like, it was like, hey, you're sick, and then there was nothing that nobody could do. It was over. But so if that happens to you, what would you want with your stuff?
It should be what that person wants to happen with their things.
Or what they would have wanted if they were still here, So, like, John wanted to race. It was tough, dude. Like, every day, Jackie's hearing new stuff and getting pictures of stuff, and people are telling her, and family members are calling her, whatever, and it's like, hey, this person's moving in or whatever, or this person's, selling their house, and they're going to sell your dad's place. And then it was like, wait, what? Then it was like, holy crap, okay. And then all of a sudden you got days, basically. Literally days, really. Mm-hmm. Whenever it was like, they were like, you have to get up here and get your stuff or whatever.
Well, we were told that all of this decisions were going to be made together
as a family.
But then I was called one day and told that my dad's house was going for sale tomorrow, which I questioned, because how can you sell a house? And they were like, we just decided to do this, blah, blah, blah.
There's a lot of steps you have to take to put your house on the market tomorrow.
But they acted like, well, let's go
it's not a whimsical
willy-nilly
deal.
pull it up for sale tomorrow. Like,
and then it has to happen right now. Luckily, we were already, going to be up there to do it anyway, but things got really weird in a hurry. And then,
because they said they were selling it and it was going to be up for sale, which I already knew because I was told by other people, And then within a couple days, it's, you start getting pictures of things like, do you want this? It's made out like they're going to text me a picture and ask me, you want this?
Well, then you were told that
it's like a garage
there's
sale.
Still some stuff there. Mm-hmm. There's some things there. There's still some things there you can have, but that's about it. And it was all boxed up and gotten rid of all of his clothes, his leathers, and his jackets, his boots.
Every sentimental item that we had asked for.
Yeah. Well, and some that you thought could never go anywhere, you know what I mean? Like, and it was just a lot of stuff, his motorcycles were gone, his parts were gone,
Especially like things that, one, we had specifically asked for, but also like the same people watched me just give him those Harley boots for Christmas, a year before.
Yeah. And so when we got there, then everything changed. Because we were just going to go up there and process, and I was just going to, be there for them, and they were going to go through the things and, find the memorable things that meant something to them. And, because you don't know. I mean, you think about it. I'm not in their shoes, so I can't speak for them, but I can speak for myself, which is, I haven't lived at home with my dad in years. So if something happened to him, I wouldn't even remember all the things that could be there, or that, I'd have to see them and go, oh my God, you know what this is? Like, that's everybody. You sit there and you think that, like, well, how could you not know that what was there or whatever? And it's like, people grow up, they move out. You only have so much memory, and so you have to push some things to the side to remember new things. And so, but then you're reminded when you see something like, oh my God, same way with everybody does at their family. They go back home for a while or whatever. Like, So you just want that opportunity to go through and see what stands out, what jumps out at you, what is it that you remember, what's part of you that's still there, that's part of him, that means so much to you because it meant something to him or whatever, and that's what. And when we got there, a lot of that stuff was.
We didn't even get that opportunity.
No.
It was like,
No, it was, these are your boxes.
these are your, childhood drawings that we kept.
Yeah. And it wasn't even that. It wasn't even your or his stuff. It was your stuff.
Yeah,
it was already
that's
your
what
stuff.
I mean. It wasn't, let's go through
It was like stuff from your
our
childhood
father's
bedroom.
things. They're literally like my preschool drawings and stuff, which is cool, but
that's not what you were.
That's not what
the main purpose
Yeah.
in there, and that's not what you were really worried about. You'd trade all that stuff for your dad's, wallet or whatever. You know what I mean? When you're a kid, your dad's wallet is a big thing. Your dad's shoes are a big thing.
Well, and he wore such, like very specific things, and he wore them every day for years. That like, my dad didn't even get a new wallet and chain. Like, he had the same wallet and chain my entire life. Like,
and you could see,
and then you're
it
just
in his
told,
stuff.
like
you could just see it in all.
You could see it in multiple pictures because it's a chain.
You could see it in all of his things, and everything. Every time I saw him, you could see it. Like, he didn't go get a new wallet one day because he, this one was looking raggedy or whatever. Like, that wallet wasn't, to him, getting a new wallet wasn't as important as buying spark plugs or fuel. So he just wore that wallet the fuck out, dude. I mean, wore it out. And you can see in the pictures, like, he wore jeans till there wasn't hardly anything left of them. And, but that's what you want. The things that your dad used every day, you know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine not getting that opportunity. And it was a weird scene, not to,
just really awkward.
Not to spread family business out there. It's just a weird scene. It was awkward. It was weird. It was difficult.
You don't imagine it to be awkward because, like...
No, it felt more like...
Well, for the record, like, my parents were still together. Like, it's not like a step parent. Like it's.
No, it felt more like a. I don't know. It felt more like being at a yard sale that the person didn't really want to sell anything. Because it was like you're walking around and you're like, what about that? Can we look through that? Or can you, I'm just listening to them do it. I'm not saying anything, obviously. I'm just standing there or sitting there, whatever. But most of the time I tried to be outside. But, it was like, nope. There's a whole lot of nopes. So it was pretty much all their stuff was, or all the stuff that they were allowed to look at, to look through, take, whatever, was all in a, already boxed up in a, pile or whatever. And everybody was upset, as you can imagine, and, there's a lot going on.
Well, just we had already heard so many things, and, like, we already felt like a lot of things were going to be gone, and by the minute that we went there, I was like, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone.
But listening to you and Aaron talk beforehand, it was so different than what I think anybody understood. I mean, I'm listening to them talk, and it was, I don't care if that's gone. I don't care if that's gone. I didn't want that stuff. That's not, that wasn't the stuff that mattered or whatever. It wasn't the valuable things or the things that cost money or whatever. It was the, as long as his, as long as
we were looking for the
his stuff is, the
those
memorable
things,
stuff, the little things, as long as those were there, it didn't really matter,
Yeah,
because to be honest, Aaron and Jackie have their own money,
Well, and to be honest, my dad didn't have a lot of money. So my dad didn't have, watches or, like, I feel like typically people are arguing about the expensive items that people have,
expensive heirloom type things that get, that are like, worth something or whatever, that you leave to your, in a will or whatever, because it's worth a bunch of money or something. But, like, that's not what was going on here. That listening to them, it was They didn't really care about any of that stuff because they have their own money. Trust me, if Aaron and Michael wanted a race car, they go buy a race car. If they wanted tools, they go buy tools. If they want, you know what I mean? Like, same with us. We don't need any more race cars, that's for sure. We don't need any more tools, you know, like we have what we need. And if we don't, we go buy it. So.
It was just, the smaller items, just the things that we really remembered, But.
And it was tough because it seemed like that stuff didn't matter. All that mattered was that, well, you get to pick one of these and one of these and one of these or whatever, like, or you get two of these or well, you don't get that or whatever. And it was just, I don't know.
It was weird.
It was weird. It was like an estate sale where they had taken away all the little things and there was only big stuff left and nobody could do anything with it. It was pretty weird. But then things just got weirder.
They opened the door to the garage, like the big door. So standing from the front, you can see the door open, and I instantly know that things are gone. Like,
well, Harley's for sure.
Well, yeah, my dad, this is like a 2-car garage back there.
Yeah.
And he has workbenches, toolboxes. Like, when we went there in November after my dad passed away, we had gone in the garage because the car had been caught on fire. So we went in the garage and to figure out why it caught on fire and make sure it wasn't going to catch on fire just sitting there. Make sure that it was, like, okay to be stored until we all processed our feelings. And when we went in the garage in November, it was packed full of stuff like my dad usually was. Like, you had to walk a pretty specific route to even get in there, especially because we found out that my dad was sick while he was racing. So it was kind of just put everything up while we try to, treat this. And then when it's treated, we'll go back to racing, and that's just not what happened. So there's just things shoved in there. And that was in November. And when they opened the door, I could tell from standing in the front that half of the stuff is gone, at least. Like,
there was a lot of stuff missing. You can imagine if you're racing out of a 2-car garage,
with 3 Harleys in it.
You can imagine not just racing out of that garage, but doing everything out of that garage. All your Harleys, your house,
Tools.
your house stuff, your yard stuff, your whatever,
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff that was, packed in that deal. But
when we went there, the car had all the body panels were on it. The car was complete. Yeah. It was just in there. When they opened the door, the car was right in the door, and it had no front end, no hood, no front, anything.
Fuel regulator was missing off of it. There was a lot of stuff, and I'm sure it was done with good intentions. I don't know why, but
it's just pretty obvious that it wasn't what Aaron and I had been told the whole time.
It wasn't even what it was when we left there in November.
No, we were constantly told that nothing had gone, nothing had been sold, nothing was given away, nothing left. Everything was how it was, and it wasn't.
The car was in pretty, I wouldn't say it was in bad shape, but it wasn't the way it was when John left, it wasn't ready to go racing, that's for dang sure.
He was racing it. It still had the nitrous bottle in it.
Yeah, he was racing it. It did when we first
went there in November.
But then now all that stuff was, whatever. And then the batteries, we had bought him, a 16-volt system, two excess batteries and charger and all the, it was a really nice setup. It's a good, setup to go racing with nitrous, you know what I mean? And the battery had been left on since who knows when.
Since it caught fire, probably.
Yeah, I don't know if it, they were just cranking on it, trying to get it to start or what. I don't know what they were doing, but I've never seen 2 16-volt batteries show less than 3 volts, and these are tied together, Yeah. And race car batteries, you don't want to let them get that low because that's when bad things happen. So the battery was left on, the batteries were done, and there was, just a bunch of weird stuff with the car, like no fuel in it, no, I don't know. It was
It's covered in dust.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. You don't expect it to look like that. You know what I mean? Like when you leave there and a man passes away, you leave there and it's in one shape, you know. And you don't expect when you come back that it's going to not be the same at all. You know what I mean? You don't expect it to be different, you know. So
Well, especially when
yeah, they
none
had
of the
fried the
people
water
that
pump for some reason. I don't know if they left the water pump. I don't know what they. Honestly, I couldn't tell you, and I don't know their intentions. But I just know that they had taken the water pump off, put a cheap CSR water. Nothing. Not that there's anything wrong with CSR, but Mazir, whatever was on it. So you know, it looks different. Everything's different. So it's like I don't know what was going on there. I don't know if they were going to go racing with it and then didn't or what, but it wasn't the same, you know, and it was covered in shit, you know. And he did have a crew guy that went, a friend of his that went with him to races and stuff. And I feel like that guy probably knew more about the car than just about anybody up there. But he wasn't brought in until it was already too late, I think. You know what I mean? So, I mean, literally the day after, the day that he passed away, within 12 hours, like, I wouldn't even say extended family, other people up there had fired the car up and done a bunch with it and tore it up or whatever. So, you know,
like the morning after, I woke up to text messages and calls about I need help.
yeah, that we tried
Why
to.
did
Yeah,
it catch on fire?
yeah. They had me call somebody up there, and I called them, and I was like, "What the hell's going on?" And they said, "Well, we tried to winterize the car, which, whatever, you know, but it's a race car, so you just drain the water and put some antifreeze in it, turn the water pump on. That's it. Actually, you don't even have to turn the water pump on with that car because it didn't have a thermostat or nothing. You could just drain the water out, put antifreeze in it, whatever, or drain the water out, leave it, or he had
Turn
a
the heat
heater.
on.
The garage had a heater. Turn the heat on until we can figure out what to do or whatever. But like, and then they tried to get the fuel out of it because they were afraid it would varnish, which not a real big problem with race fuel within 12 hours. You know, pretty sure it'd be all right. But
It's usually worse to leave them dry.
with gasoline, yeah. I mean, with like, or with race gas, yeah, or whatever. Like with methanol and stuff, you obviously they say you shouldn't leave it in there forever, but like I do, but they say you shouldn't. But yeah, it would have been better off if they'd have just not even touched it. So
Which we honestly asked them not to do because we were going there within a month.
right, and I'm guessing what happened was, you know, they turned the wrong switch on and left it on, or left the batteries on with the switch on, and it just overamped and blew the switch, shorted the switch to ground, and which shorted the water pump or whatever. Run it dry, you know. Electric water pump. Anyway, neither here nor there. Bottom line is, there was a lot going on there. There was a lot of things that weren't the way that, you know, Jackie and Aaron thought they should be. So,
Well, and that's not how things go with my dad. Like people don't. I've never in my life seen somebody go to my mom and dad's house and start my dad's car. Never.
it would be about the same if somebody came here and started my car.
Not even my grandma could do that without my dad losing his shit. Like I've literally never seen anyone do that.
Yeah, you definitely don't need to start a race car to. That's the other thing. You know, it's not like a stock Camaro where you got to start it and circulate the fluid. You don't need to fire up a race car to winterize it. You can winterize a race car without even turning the battery on, you know, so whatever. But
They just never turn it off.
they never, yeah, they never did turn it off. But
Anywho.
yeah, you know, I mean, you could go on like this and on until, to be honest, I watched it happen. I just sat there and watched it. And I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to make it any worse. I didn't want these people to hate their family. I didn't want them to yell, you know, I didn't want them to have conflict. I want everybody to get along. I was happy Aaron and Jackie were getting along. I thought that was cool, you know, and I think John would have loved that, you know. And it's tough to watch it all go down, and then, you know, at some point they felt like they were being lied to over and over and over again, and Jackie and Aaron talked, and Aaron said that she wanted
We just wanted the car to be safe.
Until you could figure out what was going on.
Well, there's so many things that we did want, you know, not even so many things. There's things that we wanted, you know, and it seemed honestly like they were intentionally gotten rid of because it was the specific things that we wanted that are gone.
And it was like, it was honestly, it felt like whoever was up there in control of this stuff thought that there was no way that they were going to take the race car or whatever. So get rid of all the other stuff. And then they're just, Jackie and Aaron are just ass out or whatever. So, you know, it was,
We just decided together that,
if there's nothing else,
yeah,
if there's nothing else left, then what would John, and that was, it was all always about what John would have wanted or whatever. And so once we saw that, and once they realized what was going on, then it was like, how are you going to let those people race his car? You
yeah,
know what I
it's not only just knowing that they got rid of all the things that you intentionally asked for, whether they were donated, sold, trashed,
whatever,
burned, like, I don't know,
hidden,
you know?
doesn't matter.
And to be honest, I'm never going to know because that's how it is. But to know all of that and then to see how the things have gone with my dad's prized possession for the last year, you know, like it got caught on fire the morning after my dad died.
I don't know why the nitrous fuel system was taken off of it. There's a lot of stuff that didn't make any sense.
Well, it's just.
And the reason it didn't make any sense is because, you know, race car people were not involved from the beginning of that deal. So even.
Well, it's just we felt like everything else gotten rid of, and then the people with the car don't know anything about the car or racing the car. That if we just sit by, the car wouldn't be here anymore at some point.
I can promise you, they were taking that car out. They were going to
like
take
the
that
car. It's not just, oh, I don't want anyone to race my dad's car. It's that the other memories are gone because they were gotten rid of. That like the car is either going to get burnt up, crashed, or
Both.
sold.
Yeah, all of it probably. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we just
And
felt like,
plus they were,
you know?
Plus they sold the house and were moving to a place that didn't have anywhere to work on the car, didn't have anywhere to store the car. So the car was going to sit in storage somewhere.
mm-hmm.
Didn't have anywhere to put the trailer or the tool. Like literally, you know,
it just wasn't a
the
good
racing
situation.
thing would have been, you know, almost impossible. So at some point, that was going to be a burden that they would have to get rid of if they didn't roll it in the process. So it just got really weird. And it was like, you know, Aaron and Jackie discussed it, and
we just felt like we needed to do it for my dad, you know, and it's not easy, and you just can't.
just couldn't imagine leaving it there with him, with everything else that was gone and moved and
My
trashed
dad
or whatever.
worked his
Like,
entire
you know,
life for racing,
if
you know?
if
like,
they don't care about the stuff that he cared about, and they don't care about the stuff that she cared about or that Aaron cared about or whatever, like what makes anybody think that they're going to care as much about this as he did, you know? And at the same time, it's like John has children, blood children, like that race or want to race, whatever, like that are part of racing. He has one child that drag races for a living and owns, you know, is part owner of a pretty decent drag racing shop that does this. So,
well, and it's what his plan was to move here and go racing with us. So that's obviously what he wanted, you know. And Aaron and
yeah.
I just couldn't. We always try to just don't cause a huge problem, be the bigger person, you know. But like, that's everything our dad worked for every day of his life, and so much of it was already gone that like we just couldn't do it. You know, we decided that we would take the car down here where it's safe because we have somewhere to store it. We do race car stuff.
Yeah, originally though, I mean, when it was being discussed, you know, we made sure everybody understood that we have no use for another race car. We're not looking for another race car. We're not looking for, you know, we're not looking to race another car. We both have our own race cars that we race, and, you know, but at the same time, we have the resources and the facilities, and we have the shop, we have the room, we have the tools. We have the trailers, we have trucks and
Well, it's
trailers and
safe.
parts, and we have everything, and it's safe here. We know how to work on it all, and we, spares or whatever. But the ultimate goal, was not, you know, would be more for Aaron to drive the car.
Yeah, I
And-
mean, honestly, the car is really similar to mine as far as how it runs, not chassis and stuff wise, but I think it would be cool for Erin to race it, my sister, and who knows,
She was super pregnant at the time, so it was really not a whole lot to talk about with her racing it or getting in it, because
well, and she still has a little 2-week-old baby,
yeah. So
but
they're dealing with that right now, but her dude has raced before, had race cars, and they didn't have the room for this type of race car right now, or the trailer, truck, whatever, but they're focused on the baby. So our job at this point is just to make sure nothing happens to this car or the memory of this car or what he would have wanted with this car. And then if nothing else,
we'll keep it for little Johnny.
yeah, for Aaron or Aaron's kid or whoever. And then I feel like John, it's hard for me to talk about some of this stuff, but I feel like John would just be beaming. As big a smile as he could smile. It was about like, it wasn't much. But as big as he could smile, he'd be beaming if he knew that this car brought Aaron and Jackie together and that they went together to race this car or whatever. Like if this car goes out and goes to the racetrack or whatever, and and both of them are there and working on it, and if I can do anything in the situation and just tow it to the racetrack or work on it or line them up crooked or whatever it is that I do, tune it, whatever, like, I just feel like John would, give a big old, big salute, big thank you or whatever. So that's all I want from the whole deal is I didn't know John very well, but what I did know of him, I respected a lot. So it will be cool when the car does come out and those two are together with the car and doing things together, just the way they were when he went racing. Like when he would go racing, they would go and they would be a part of it. And they'd have to get along and they'd have to be together and they'd be forced in the truck and everything else to be at the racetrack. Still going to happen, you know what I mean? And that's what's fucking cool is that it'll be the same. He'll be there. So all I can say in all this from an outsider looking in is
Make a will.
if you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, if you care what happens, you may think that could never happen. Whoever is in charge, or when I leave, when I check out, whoever's in charge would take care of everybody, or would make sure that the things that I wanted would happen, or whatever. Like, I can promise you, man, no matter what,
Things change.
you don't have any say so in it anymore. So things change and people change to make sure that everybody knows what you want, what you like, what you would want, whether you're joking or not, just put it out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Jackie knows damn good and well if I check out, ain't ne'er a motherfucker coming in here to start my fucking race car. I promise you, until my boys are 18, or she can start it all she wants. That's her. She'll start it and drive it, whatever she wants to work on it, whatever. If she wants to try and race it, good luck with that. But
Shit.
but everything in here is is for her and the boys or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's not. Everybody knows. So make sure everybody knows. If you're a strong, silent type, and you don't put it out there and you don't talk about that kind of shit, or even if you're the dude who doesn't want to talk about death or doesn't want to talk about when you're gone, write it down. Tell somebody, record it, voice record, whatever, anything. Just make sure people know what you would have wanted so they don't get to make that decision for you. So there you go. So now we got this big, shiny Chevrolet in the shop. Never been a big block guy. Never really been a Chevrolet guy.
Now we got 2 big blocks.
Now we got 2 big blocks. And so we're selling all of our LS stuff. We got to make room for all this other stuff. So we're getting rid of all of our LS crap.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
If you need some LS shit, head over to Justin's Facebook.
So if you see this car in the background, that's what it is. We really appreciate everybody's patience with us. This last year has been, you have all these plans, and you make all the, you know what I mean, and you think we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and you get started and you're going and the ball's rolling, and then life happens and the universe has other plans. So we appreciate everybody's patience with us. We know we don't put out as much as we should, and we know that we're not doing, some of the things that we said we were going to do, but it's like, shit changes, man. So thank you we see the nice comments. We see all the love. We see all the patience. We get it, and we thank you. And everybody else, we get it. Fuck you. Thank you, too. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, hopefully with time, everything gets a little easier.
Yeah. You can tell Aaron to move down here and work on this car.
Yeah. Oh, and P.S.
Fuck Mike.
We did it. We did it.
It only took us a month and a half.
Just so you know, every couple days for a month and a half, we've tried to film this video.
It's been a crying month.
And man, every time we get a little further, and then one of us starts crying. So we did it. Well, bye.